Hello, everybody, and welcome to the super duper top secret. Shh! Don't tell Lettuce. Don't tell him. Everybody, just be quiet. Don't tell Lettuce we're doing this. It's secret. We're hiding in my basement. He's not allowed to know. Welcome to another episode of the Imaginary Boys, minus one imaginary boy, but including another imaginary boy. I am one of the two hosts, Mr. Habanero, and I have a surprise secondary, top secret, super duper amazing secondary host hiding in my basement with me, Mr. Cindershadow. How are you, Mr. Cindershadow?
I am okay. I am the tomato to this burger that we're calling a podcast today.
Is that implying that you only eat your burgers with tomatoes? Like you don't have anything else? Like you just
No, I just put ketchup on them. That's all.
Oh, I hate ketchup, man. You know I hate ketchup.
That's why I told you that.
Oh, all right. Well, we're doing a super duper secret Imaginary Boys. I couldn't be separated from my podcast, and I know that when Lettuce sees this, it's gonna blow his goddamn mind. He's not gonna know what the hell to do.
I guess I got to fill in for the stuff that we got to say about Maz tonight.
It's just gonna be, I'm gonna have to it's gonna be like that one episode where I'm gonna have to cut out like 20 minutes of just Cindershadow talking shit at Maz. Dude, did you know, like, in all seriousness, that episode, I had to cut out like 10 or 15 minutes of content from that.
Well, I caught the whole a few moments later part.
That's the thing. Oh man, he goes so Mad Hatter when it comes to Maz. It cracks me up. I love it.
Yeah. Well, when you can get on a good rant, sometimes the rant is more entertaining than the impliedness behind it.
Like the ragging.
Yeah.
Like the intention.
It just becomes funny because you do it for comedy, and that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah, man. That's what I do it. I do it for the sheer shits and giggles all the time, man. Yeah. This is like, yeah, I was inspired to make this podcast in the first place. The Imaginary Boys is like, there's a bunch of humor podcasts that I watch, and I just like putting on a podcast where it's just, 3 or 4 guys just kind of like palling around, saying random things and stupid things just to make themselves laugh, and that's what I'm all about. Like, I love that stuff. It's
here's the thing. I tried to do that when I was driving to and from work.
Yeah.
I killed my
tried to record a podcast while you were driving to work.
I tried listening to podcasts on my way to and from work, and it killed my data.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I had to stop doing that because I got about a week's worth of podcasting listening to, and I went through all my data in that week, and I was like, I guess I'm not going to be able to do this because it's not viable, especially here in Canada where data plans and cell phones are very expensive to own.
Yeah, it's rough. I hear about that every once in a while because I have a lot of, friends that are in Canada that are YouTubers or podcasters. Yeah. Well, not so much podcasters, but definitely.
Well, and YouTubers. Now, if you don't have a cell phone, half the time you can't even pay for your bills or pay for this or that or everything else.
Yeah, that's madness. Hold on, I forgot to open up my beer. I need to be drinking.
Oh, well, what are you drinking tonight, Mr. Habanero?
Another Triceratops. I'm like hooked on this beer. It's my favorite.
Your good old Triceratops. I am drinking a Tempo Gin Smash.
Ooh, fancy boy.
This time it's a grapefruit flavor.
That's crazy. Like, so mine is like citrus grapefruit kind of like tones to it as well. So we're being citrus boys.
Yeah. Well, it's summer. It's coming to the dog days of summer where you just want them to last longer and longer, and they're getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah, it's getting cooler. It's definitely getting cooler.
It is. We're going into a heat wave this week. It's going to be like 31 degrees tomorrow, and then for the rest of the week. That's Celsius. Nice. That's Celsius. I know Habanero has recently learned Celsius. And
yeah. I literally taught myself how to read Celsius just so I could play Phasmophobia.
Right?
And it's really funny because once you learn Celsius, you realize how dumb Fahrenheit is.
Oh, it is. Fahrenheit is so stupid, especially when you're trying to do the conversion in your head. You're like, I double it at some point and add 32. Like, who
Yeah.
came up with this formula, and why is it a formula? Why does this exist? Why? Who in the right mind uses Fahrenheit? I get it for like cooking in the oven, right?
Hmm.
But other than that, why? It doesn't make any sense.
You know what I've been wanting to like I've been trying to teach myself, but I still struggle with it is understanding like kilometers. You know what I mean? Like
Um,
cuz like
yeah,
like people don't, in other countries don't usually measure by like feet. They measure by
no, exactly.
kilometers,
Yeah, well, a mile versus a kilometer. Well, a kilometer, we use millimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're just adding another zero to the formula,
Yeah.
right? So it
It's
kind of makes more sense in that sense when you're going over large distances or
mhm.
you're trying to get exact measurements. Because when you use the imperial system, trying to get an exact measurement on cutting like a piece of 2x4 or a piece of metal,
Mhm.
you end up going 1/8, and I like right. That's part of it. I work in the trades. That's part of it.
Is
Uh,
that hold on? Is that a legitimate unit of measurement, or am I going to have to like censor that?
it's a slang unit of measurement.
Okay, so I'll censor it. Got it.
Yeah,
Got
just
it. Got it.
censor it. But
I was like, because I heard you
pretty
say
much
it.
what we that's pretty much what we say in when we're measuring things, because a lot of the stuff we use imperial when it comes to measurements, when we're talking a few feet.
Right.
But a lot of when we're reading a blueprint, they're in millimeters. They're
Mhm.
in normal millimeters. And when you're dealing with millimeters, 1 millimeter is way easier than trying to figure out a.
All right, man. It's actually funny because I wonder, because I'm probably going to censor it out. So I bet people are going to be like, what did he, what did he say? What is he saying? What unit of measure? Is it a unit of measurement, or is he just being an asshole? What is going on here?
It's a real thing. Oh,
Oh man, yeah. Like I said, like it just for some reason Celsius clicks for me. Like once I started forcing myself to learn how to read Celsius, like it makes sense. And like but for some reason meters and kilometers, it just doesn't click the same way for me. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I'm so used to meters and kilometers. It's going to miles is not fun.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that always bugs me is because like a major part of it is programming children. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like they're like, okay, well, it's kind of like the idea of like, they say when you're a child, it's easier to learn new languages. So it's
Uh,
like it's pretty normal for children to like, especially if they're ahead of the curve, sometimes they can be raised in like a multicultural family, and so it's like, oh well, they're taught English and Spanish and something else like at the same time because that's a multicultural family and they pick it up
well,
easier.
that's actually incorrect. The whole reason between the imperial and the metric system was because the British wanted to rip people off for the price of tea.
Oh, well, I mean, I know the history.
Yeah.
Like I know the history, but what I'm saying is that like a part of it is that it's harder to learn something new the older you get. So
Yes.
they kind of are like, okay, well, this is like the system that we use. We're going to teach it to you as a child, and then you just kind of pick it up, and it's like this is like the natural way of things. It's kind of like being an English speaker, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. So it's like you learn English as a child, and then that's just natural to you. And then as you get older, trying to learn something new is so weird and alien to you. And I kind of see it the same way with the measurement systems, whether it's like Fahrenheit or Celsius, or miles versus kilometers. It's that once, because like, for example, like understanding miles per hour is so natural to me. It makes perfect sense, but that's because I was ingrained with that as a child. That was just like the natural unit of measurement that I came to, like, as I was taught it. It just made sense because that's what I applied to for everything that I saw around me. It's like, oh, that's about 500 miles. I can quantify, like, we're 25 miles away from me because I know that I can walk like 3 miles, and I can quantify that in my head. I understand the distance of like a mile, and I can quantify that, and therefore I can understand what somebody means when they say, oh, that's 3 miles. Oh, that's like, 25 miles or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I was never raised with the understanding of like kilometers. And I know that kilometers, I think, are just slightly longer than a mile, I think.
Yes, I believe so. Mostly, it comes back between a meter stick and a yardstick.
Mm-hmm.
It is the two that makes a difference, and comes down to football also.
Oh, great. Something I hate. Awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
something I mean, I don't hate football. I just,
What is it in the American League? Is it 100 yards, and in the Canadian it's 110
mm-hmm.
or 110 meters or something? I can't remember the full
It's possible. I have no idea.
I don't pay attention to football myself, but that's part of what it was, and where the conversion came from between Canadian and American football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Also,
I'm not a sports guy. I mean,
to quote Robin Williams, we have the mutant form of football where we have 3 downs instead of 4.
Okay. I mean, sure. I'm sure that, a sports fan out there probably understands what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Does anyone watching sports really pay attention to this?
Pay attention to our podcast?
Other than me with hockey?
I mean, well, first of all, like, I mean, Lettuce is a major football guy.
Oh, is he?
That's
okay.
it. Oh, are you kidding me? You follow him on Twitter, don't you?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I've seen them. Yeah.
Literally every post that Lettuce makes. Like, I'm pretty much like I'm pretty sure that Lettuce's sole purpose for using Twitter is to follow football information.
Probably, because you probably get it up to date.
Yeah. I'm like, because that's all I ever see from him. All I ever see is him talking about football, following football, like, discussing football with other people on Twitter. Like, that's his thing. That's what he does, And you're DMing me stuff. It's a llama. It's a llama.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So, I mean, I know that, like, it says only stoners will get this, and then oh, no, I get it. Alpaca bull. I will pack a bull. Alpaca bull. That's what it is. I was like, llama bull? Like, what am I? So he sent me a meme that says only stoners will get this, and it shows an alpaca, which I mistook for a llama at first, and then it shows a bull below it. Only stoners will get this. Alpaca bull. It's all right. Cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
Just random things going by.
Why are you sending me marijuana memes? You don't partake in marijuana.
It just showed up on my feed.
All right, man. All right, man.
This is the route that my stuff goes down some days. I'm like, that's weird. I don't get that, but that's weird.
Oh man. Is this Twitter specifically that you're talking about? Facebook. Oh, I hate Facebook.
Yeah. So.
But God, I have grown so attached to Twitter, like, and it's weird because all I ever hear whenever I like discuss Twitter with other people, 9 times out of 10, all they will say is, God, Twitter is just the worst. It's the worst. Like, it's where like intelligence goes to die, and it's like everything about that's awful with the world is happening on Twitter, and it's just the worst place to be, and blah blah blah. And me, I'm like, memes and anime boobies. Like, like that's my Twitter, is just memes and anime boobies. So
my Twitter is a mess of everything. I'll be scrolling through, and I'll scroll past For some reason, I get like a tennis match right now. Then I
Uh-huh.
get some weird kung fu ninja panda thing.
That sounds
Um,
fun.
and then I get the random bodega cats, which are awesome.
Okay.
Then I get some random fantasy art where it's like a naked lady with their head becoming a spirit.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah,
I do follow some artwork stuff. Like I do follow some like painters on my Twitter
and
feed.
then I get the random posts of it's time we ditch the word gardening.
Is that like supposed to be like a political statement or something? Like
Yes,
I don't. Okay.
yeah,
Well,
it's
they
some
sound like they're
political BS.
yeah, they sound like an idiot.
Yeah,
Do you tune your Twitter? Like do you tune
tune.
it?
Sometimes,
I
sometimes I
I
put it in out. Otherwise, it's mostly just random.
I actually go out and I think this is why my Twitter is so good to me. And why I like it so much. I actually fine tune my Twitter. The moment
Yeah,
that I
that's probably why.
see yeah, the moment that I see anything that I dislike, I will like if it's like a topic or a random popular tweet, I will just immediately because there's like the little classic three dot drop down menu.
Yeah,
And I will just simply like, bring that if I see something I don't like, I'll just immediately bring it down. I'll be like, don't show me tweets like this anymore, or don't show me tweets from this user anymore. And then it's gone. And then I basically never see it again or
the
anything like it again.
the only time I tend to do that is close to the beginning and the end of the month when they're trying to push the last minute ads onto Twitter, and every third tweet is an ad.
You have to be careful with those too, because like sometimes like what I will do is that if I get like tweets that seem like they're not properly targeting me,
Yeah,
I will tell them to go away.
yeah.
But if they're just like random like advertisement tweets, I'll let them slide because I know that like trying to like fine tune the advertisements, like you're never going to get rid of them on Twitter.
Well,
First of all,
some days it's literally every third tweet is like some crypto BS and it says promoted at the bottom of the tweet. So I go mute,
yeah,
mute,
yeah.
mute. Get
But
this
see,
away
that's the
from me.
thing. The thing is that like when you get stuff like that, definitely like get rid of them. But when you get advertisements that are like, oh, McDonald's promoting blah, 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 or, Wendy's doing this, or like
Yeah, usually those
this
are just click
alcoholic
over.
drink, like just leave those ones be,
Well,
the
like
ones
the
that you
Wendy's
don't
account,
mind.
you have to follow the Wendy's account on Twitter. If you're not following Wendy's on Twitter, what are you doing? They put out
I
some of the
don't.
most amazing tweets some days where they're
Yeah.
ragging on like Xbox or KFC or Pizza Hut. And you just sit there and go, who's running their social media account? It's awesome.
I've definitely heard some of the legendary stories about the Wendy's Twitter account, but
Yeah.
I don't follow them. I just when I see somebody talking about them, I'll like read and laugh a little bit, but not personally following them just because like I don't care to have
There's some
bullshit.
days where I will back off and unfollow them because they'll be like, you'll get nonstop ads for like, buy this cheeseburger. Oh, we have a free coffee today. Do you want our coffee? How about you get a coffee? How about you go get a coffee? How about a coffee? How about you go get this coffee from us for
Just
free?
get the damn coffee, Cindershadow.
Right.
Shut up and get the coffee. Oh man, yeah, but that's exactly why I don't want to follow accounts like that because then
Yeah.
it encourages like more tweets, like more
Yeah.
promotional tweets like that. Um, I just kind of like, I mean, I love anime titties. I have so much anime titty in my feed, and it is wonderful.
See,
It's great.
here's my problem with the anime titties in my Twitter feed. When
How
I
dare
was
you?
hold on, there is a
How
reason
dare
for
you?
this. There's a reason for this, and it becomes a simple some days my Twitter feed needs to be family friendly because if I go to an event like Fragapalooza, the gaming event that I go to every year, which hopefully we go back to it next year, um, it's an open to the public event where the public can walk in and out of there. So I can't have things like that on my actual desktop as I'm sitting there playing games.
What are you trying to tell me that like your Twitter feed when it comes to anime boobies are just all not safe for work anime boobies? Is that what
yeah.
That's like more hardcore than me, dude. Like I don't like okay, so I don't like I don't you know, I don't heart nude anime pictures.
No, I don't heart them
I'll look
either.
at them. I
But
will look at them, but
there
I
is
won't promote
sometimes
them.
there is sometimes some of the people I follow go on an anime titty binge, and all they start to do is post them. So then my feed gets filled up with them, and I'm like, okay, I've got to curate this just a little bit, so that I don't get that very often. But when it does, I just got to, make sure it's censored.
So, okay, so the majority, when I say anime titties, I'm not talking about raw dog nipples and not safe for work action. I'm not
Oh
talking
no,
about
no, no! The stuff
full
I
blown
see
drawn nudes here.
some days the stuff I see on my Twitter feed is full on, not safe for work. It's part of the age restrictive challenge. That's how my Twitter feed gets some days.
It literally sounds like your Twitter is more hardcore than mine, and that just doesn't. What are you like? This, you know what this is making me think of? This is making me think of your adventures in hermaphroditic porn
Yeah,
territory.
yeah.
Somehow, I don't understand it. I always love it how whenever you're on the Imaginary Boys, somehow we find out that you are somehow more hardcore than both Lettuce and I combined. Like, I don't understand it. Like, here me and Lettuce is talking about his ever loving dick chicks. I'm talking about anime titties on Twitter. Here comes Mr. Cindershadow with the drop clawed hermaphroditic porn and full blown nudes on his Twitter account. Like Jesus Christ, man. How is it that you're more hardcore than us? I don't understand it.
I don't know.
Oh my god! You know what? Twitter knows. Twitter knows about
Twitter knows how dirty I happen to be. So
yeah, they know about your adventures in hermaphroditic porn.
Apparently.
So they're like, okay, we gotta step this up. We gotta send him full blown anime nudes on his Twitter feed. Oh my god, man. Like, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I once in a while, it's very rare. Like, I don't think I've ever gotten like a splash nude picture on my Twitter feed, like from real women or anime women.
Oh no.
I've never gotten that.
I have. There's some days where I will click into a tweet, and like the next tweet on there is someone sending them nudes. It's some days I just sit there and go, okay, that was something I didn't expect to see on this tweet. But
so
like, if you click into like a Game of Thrones tweet where
there's your problem.
where someone has made a comment with a short little snippet from the show or something like that on Twitter, you click into that, the following tweets underneath it will half the time be nudes.
Big floppy penises.
That too. And you just sit there and go, what? I just wanted to see the clip. I didn't want to see that.
So also the thing is too that I've learned is that Twitter will also like tune your feed based on what tweets that you stop scrolling towards and how long you stay on them as well. And they will tune your feed based on that. So I think what's happening is every once in a while you're getting these nude pictures.
Here's the theory of habaneros. This is the newest theory, the newest channel that's going to be out there is the nude theory from Habanero.
Nude theory. And that's just a theory. A nude theory. Thanks for watching. Oh, Matt Pat, eat your goddamn heart out.
Right?
Uh, I think what's happening is you happen to be going into these Game of Thrones threads, and you're going through, you're reading them, and then you get one of those big floppy penis pictures, and you're just like, oh my. And
No,
then you
no.
stop,
Oh no.
you stop, and you just are kind of you're comprehending it, you're wrapping your mind around it, you're questioning life's existence while you look at the deep intricacies of these large, veiny, flaccid cocks. And Twitter sees that.
I need another drink for this one.
Twitter notices this, and they're like, "Oh, okay, Cindershadow,
Twitter knows.
Their Twitter is taking note. They're like, Cindershadow, veiny, flaccid cocks, check." And that's what's going on here, folks. That's what's happening here. We understand it now.
See, this went from anime titties to flaccid cocks now.
Like, veiny, flaccid cocks.
Yeah. Oh, God. Ridiculous.
They know, man.
Yeah, they know. They know. Twitter knows who you are. You may not even have a Twitter account, but they know who you are. They will find you. You have a special set of skills.
After this podcast, you're gonna get on Twitter, and your feed is just gonna be filled with like anime nudes and veiny, flaccid cocks.
Oh no! Please no! Please no! This is where you lean into the mean, right?
Yeah, man. Like how you're a gigantic furry, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Right? That's probably half the problem. Furry has been said around my channel so much now, it's leaked into my Twitter feed, and that's half of the stuff I see now.
It's because you identify yourself as a giant fiery bird. Of course, you're going to get the furries on your side.
No, it was just something that sounded cool, and the whole name of Cindershadow, I was like, wouldn't that just be a good name for a phoenix?
Yeah, and once the moment you start identifying as some kind of like non-human species, you're gonna get the furries, man. But I mean, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
You got the furry community on your side, man.
Furries are acceptable in the community, and then there's some that are just they are just they're on the other side of the door, and that's where they need to belong. So.
Oh my god, I don't know why this suddenly hit me, but did you hear the whole thing about what's it, Chris Chan escaping? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, it's such a meme. It's so funny. And it's starting to hit, I think it's starting to hit mainstream news now, where they believe he's escaped or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I wonder, like, did he legit, like, is he like out of custody right now?
No,
is that what's going on right now?
It's a meme.
Okay, so it's just a joke. Got it.
I believe it started. What is it? Crip. I think that's where it started. Yeah, Donovan, young Crip comedy. I think that's where it started. Because that's where I saw it at first.
I saw this great meme because I've been seeing the Chris Chan memes on Twitter. And I saw this one that made me just like laugh so hard I was like literally crying. There's one where it's a guy who's in his car and he's driving down the street, and you just see this man, just butt naked man run down the street. And no joke, like, it's not like you see any nudity. Like, you definitely see his butt cheeks, but that's it. You don't see anything else. You just see this butt-ass naked man run down the street, and there's, like, a cop chasing after him. And no joke, this nude-ass man running down the street, he looks exactly... Like, you don't really get to see all of, like, his figure and his face and everything, but holy shit does he look like Chris Chan.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God. And it was so funny because, like, I think the meme said, I just witnessed Chris Chan escaping prison. And you just see this nude-ass man running down the street with cops chasing after him. It's so good. It's
So
so good.
when I first saw this whole meme about Chris Chan, it was from Donovan. It says, breaking news, Chris Chan escapes custody of courthouse police and is on the run with actor Ezra Miller. Both parties are alleged to be going across the country to take advantage of as many children and their mothers to bring upon the dimensional merge.
Oh my god, dude, that is like the ultimate combo. Sonic Chew and Reverse Flash tag teaming across the country. Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, I sent you that.
I love that. I see it. I see it in my feed. That is absolutely amazing.
Yes. Young
Oh
Chris is
man.
absolutely amazing. He's a very disabled comedian. He's hilarious. What was it?
I actually think I saw a promoted tweet today of him, and he was meeting with what's his name, JonTron. There's a picture of him hanging out with
something like
JonTron.
that. Yeah, he's been making the rounds because he also was getting attacked by Brie Larson fans and all of this stuff. Yeah, it's been funny.
Well, I've never heard of him until today when I first saw him in my feed with JonTron, but he sounds like a chill dude. He really does.
He is a pretty chill dude. The conversations he has with his mom are next level.
Okay, that doesn't sound weird in the slightest.
Oh no! If you ever come across one of his conversations with his mom, you'll sit there and go, "Yeah, that just happened. That just happened," and they don't hold anything back. He holds nothing back. He calls his mom all sorts of things. And he's like, "What are you gonna do? I can't move from the neck down. What are you gonna do?"
That definitely kind of. I always love it when there are YouTube personalities or just internet personalities in general that are really funny, but their level of humor is really edgy or really nasty.
Yeah.
And I always love it when their parents lean into it.
Yes.
That is just the funniest shit to me.
Yeah.
Cause there's a couple of YouTubers and podcasters that I follow that are very nasty and edgy, and they love bringing their parents into it. And their parents are just like, whatever, you're famous. I don't care.
You do you. Whatever. Let's lean into this. Yeah. We'll have some fun.
They're like, okay, clearly you're successful at what you're doing. I'll lean into it. It's fine. I love that. I think that's so cool. Oh man, that's so funny. I love that stuff. I love I love ridiculous edgy humor. I even follow on Twitter, I follow a channel. I mean, not a channel. I follow a YouTube. I just can't speak. I follow a Twitter account that is all about 4chan green texts.
Oh God,
they're not all really good. Some of them are whatever. Whatever. This guy's a loser. Whatever. It's whatever. But every once in a while, dude, there are some that I see where I am gasping for air because I'm laughing so hard, where I'm just I feel like I'm dying because I'm laughing and it's painful.
Yeah.
Do you ever follow any of those? Any of the I mean, there's some other ones like good Reddit, bad Reddit, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I follow a recent one which is a bad Reddit or something like that, which I have a good laugh at them sometimes. The Reddit Lies one is the newest one that I've been kind of seeing pop up every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And some of the things I'm opening another tempo. Another tempo. This one though is a strawberry lemon.
I'm still working on my Triceratops. I'm debating whether or not I want to grab another.
Well, that first one was 3/4 done, so
starting early, huh?
Yeah, I started before we started recording. So
yeah, you were just oh God, I'm going to be on the Imaginary Boys. I'm going to have to be wasted to listen to this asshole for an hour.
You're talking about flaccid cocks every 5 seconds.
What? It's just this is our thing. Flaccid, veiny cocks. This is what we do, man. Who do you think we are?
this became a thing at my work at one point where guys
Veiny, flaccid cocks became a thing at your work. You're the one who says these things, man. And you wonder, once again, you wonder why Twitter keeps putting nude anime ladies and veiny, flaccid cocks in your feed. This is why. At
one point, all the guys that I was working with, it became a competition to who could draw the most veiny, flaccid cock.
They sound like a bunch of fun guys, dude. It makes me think, like, have you ever seen Superbad? Have you ever seen that movie?
A long time ago. I barely remember because I barely paid attention to it.
Do you remember how the guy has, like, he tells a story about how when he was in elementary school, he has, like, an obsession with drawing veiny, flaccid cocks everywhere?
Yes, I remember something about that.
That's your friends at work.
Yeah.
They never progressed past that stage in elementary school.
And when that started, I just sat there. I looked at them like, I don't know you. Like,
clearly,
how is this a thing? How honestly is this a thing? Oh, Christ. See, we can't go 5 minutes without talking about a veiny, flaccid cock.
Is that the title of tonight's podcast? Should I just call it Veiny Flaccid Cock?
I wonder if you should. It might not be friendly in the algorithm, but
come on. Clearly with all of the, try not to get age-restricted challenges going on right now. Clearly Veiny Flaccid Cock
just call
is algorithm friendly right now.
Age-restricted Flaccid Cock podcast.
Honestly, if you think about it, with all the try not to get age restricted challenges, the Imaginary Boys has been doing it for almost a year now. We're way ahead of the curve.
Way ahead of the curve.
Oh God. See, I do think like this might be one of the more naughtier episodes of Imaginary Boys I feel like I've done in a while. And and Lettuce isn't even here. This is your fault, Cindershadow.
It's always my fault. Haven't you learned this yet?
Everybody who listens to this, who also goes and hangs out in Cindershadow streams, okay? You wonder why, like, me and Lettuce come in and we're like, oh, he watches, tranny porn. Oh, like, look at all of these naughty sexual things. And you think we're all just being silly and mean and we're picking on Cinder. Listen to him here. And understand where we're coming from. This is why we do this.
Yep. Yeah, I do it to myself. Whatever gets a laugh at this point, right? Talking about whatever gets a laugh. I know we were talking recently in another stream how I was telling people stupid apparently sells right now on YouTube in video format, no matter what you're doing.
What do you mean by that?
If you have a stupid, dumb idea, like you're getting hit in the head by a frying pan.
Yeah.
You're getting kicked in the nuts. You're lighting a match underneath a Magic the Gathering card just to burn it up or something. And it tends to burn you. Apparently, right now, all of that will shoot you to the top of the list in TikTok or YouTube, whatever you want it to be.
You act like as if Jackass was never a thing.
Oh, Jackass was a big thing, but it's ridiculous how worse it's gotten with shorts.
Well, no, I mean, so if you want to get serious here, stupid has always been a market. And
Yeah,
like the whole thing is that like I feel like that the old days of like early 2000s in, the Jackass period of time, like that was when you realized that stupidity sells.
yeah,
And it's always been like that. Like ever since that time. Like I mean and people have capitalized on it plenty of times. Like that's just how it is, cuz people want to see other people do stupid things. They want to see them harm each other. Like there's a thing where I was listening to a podcast, okay?
yeah,
That was talking about humor in general, like just like jokes and humor in general as like an overall concept, like a concept of psychology. And one of the things that they explained, like there was like there were a few different things that quantified the psychology behind humor. And one of the things that they explained was the concept of, like, I can't exactly remember what it was called. It has a proper title, but it's basically the concept of, oh, they're okay, which is basically it's basically a complete entire category of humor, which is you see somebody do something stupid. The process of that stupid thing occurring is horrifying and terrible because it's dangerous, or it's,
it's the
detrimental
risk,
to
the risk over the reward, right? The
it's
bigger
the
the
concept.
risk, yeah,
Well, no, the concept of it is that you see something awful happen, like you see somebody get really badly hurt, or like, they fall on their face, or they do something really dumb that can permanently damage them. And then there's the concern because, when you see that, it's not funny. But then when they turn around and they're like, hey, I survived, I'm okay, that's when it becomes funny.
yeah,
That's the moment that it becomes a point of humor.
yes,
And that's what you're talking about. And that's literally a whole entire psychological category of humor, is seeing something awful, worrying that they have permanently harmed themselves because there's that sense of worry. And then when you find out that they're okay, the coping mechanism for that is to then proceed to laugh because it was stupid, it was dangerous, but overall you're relieved and they came out okay. Therefore, it is now humorous, and your form of showing your relief of them being okay is by laughing at their stupidity.
exactly. If you
That's
can't laugh
why.
at yourself some days, it just becomes you become bigger than or lesser than being able to laugh at yourself. It's
Well,
we've all done stupid things.
but the overall point is that it's literally a form. It's an entire psychological category of humor that preys on. It's successful because people want to see that. People
Yes,
don't want to see something stupid happen and then you're dead, because that's terrifying. But what they want to see is something horrible happen, realize that it's hilarious, and then they want to support that and they want to see more of it because you're okay in the end. So, like for example, like Gorilla Glue Girl, right?
oh my god.
Or
Or
the
the new activists that glued themselves to an art piece. Have you
yeah,
seen that? Like you just sit there and you go, "What are you doing? What are you doing?
but
This isn't funny. This is just dumb."
yeah, and there's plenty, like there's a whole thing of that, and that's the whole thing is like, and then they can make money from, and the thing is too is that it's they can make money from people who sympathize with them. They can make money from people who think it's hilarious and they want to support them because they want to see more. And then they can just simply make money because of those other two categories. They've gotten popular enough that people just want to see something popular become more popular.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you tell me that like you can't believe that this is a thing that exists, like on TikTok or whatever, I believe it.
Oh,
Like I'm
I believe it, but at the same time, I'm sitting here with the realization of I can't believe this is what it's down to now.
It's always
There,
been like that.
there is some days when I'm making a thumbnail or I'm making a video and I have to sit there and I turn to myself, I am making this too over and above my thinking process. And I know that's sometimes part of what I do where it doesn't take off and I sit there and go, yeah, this was too much.
Well, I don't think that those concepts next. I don't think there's a direct correlation to those ideas.
Some
So
days, because I know when I first started doing the live streams, and making videos, I had my friends sit there and talk to me, and I said, what do you think of this? What do you want? And they said, you need to be a little bit more you need to be a little bit more outgoing with it, because when I first started it, like with everyone, you first start out doing this stuff and you're a lot more reserved. I gotta say, over the last 3-4 years, I've opened up quite a bit.
mhm.
Right, I've let my humor that I have normally with my friends, I've let that bleed into like our conversation today.
Right, right. No, I know what you mean. I know.
Yeah.
I just think that like you know, looking at people who are successful by doing something stupid and then trying to correlate that
Yeah.
to whether or not a thumbnail you create is successful in attracting an audience. I think that those are two completely different sides of two completely different spectrums.
Oh, well,
Like,
no, it comes down to the keep it simple, stupid rule, right? Because I know there was
how
times
so?
where I was putting too much into them, I was putting too much thought into them, and then it became, no, you need to make this clear and concise, just make it simple, make it just a stupid simple process that when someone sees it, they recognize it,
Hmm.
right? Take a look at Mr. Beast's thumbnails. Take a look at them all now. It is literally his face making a stupid face on it with the background.
You're
That's
trying to say
all his
Mr.
thumbnails
Beast
are
is stupid?
now.
You're trying to say Mr. Beast is stupid?
Huh? I do enjoy some of his content, but
He's an all right creator.
yeah, he's
He's
an
all
all
right.
right guy, right? I don't have anything against him. I recently finding out he suffers from the same disease I have, so there's that.
Colitis.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's colitis or Crohn's, but the same sort of IBS
Hmm.
situation.
Right.
And then so does Markiplier,
Hmm.
right? He's been in the hospital a few times because of it.
I don't know if it's colitis that he has, but
It's similar because he's been in the hospital for, I think it's 3 times now from a
he
blockage.
gets like intestinal blockages and things
Yes,
like
and
that.
that is a high risk in IBS.
Yeah.
So like I do risk that, but I've also cut out the foods that bring that up,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. I think that, well, and the thing is too is that if you're going to look at people like Mr. Beast, you got to also keep in mind that he's got an entire production team,
Oh yeah,
like for doing
he's
stuff
got
like that.
so many people. Like
Like,
all of these people out there, they have their own editors. They have like
yeah.
there are days where I wish I could have an editor because of how
Well,
painful it is.
another thing that's really interesting that I started paying attention to is there's some channels that I watch that are high production YouTube channels.
Yeah,
And what's really intriguing is for some of those high production YouTube channels, they have a collection. Whenever they make a video, they have an entire collection of thumbnails. Like they don't
yeah,
just make one, they have like four or five. And what usually happens is they pick one initially
yeah.
and then they watch they watch the viewership or whatever and
Well,
the algorithm work, and then if it's not doing the numbers that they're expecting, it's very common for them to actually completely swap out the
yes,
thumbnail. And I've
yeah.
seen multiple, there's a few high production channels that I watch that I've seen them do this multiple times. I've seen them do that.
Yeah.
um, so I mean, the thing is that you can't really compare, because I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Beast does the same similar thing where they'll produce
Oh,
a video
he's
and they'll
doing it
make like four or
before
five thumbnails.
he's doing it before his thing goes live. A lot of people that when they're doing that with YouTube, they will take and make 4 or 5, then they will take their channel and take and slide it over top of their videos to see if it fits with the theme of the rest of the video, so it all streamlines together. Then on top of that, they'll take it to the home page and slot it in there themselves to try and see what it looks like around a generic homepage to see if
Mm.
it stands out.
I mean, I don't know about that, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Oh yeah.
Is that something that you do where you'll
I generally
you'll
don't
swap
because
in and out thumbnails?
sometimes I will update a thumbnail. Sometimes I will because I'll redo it on the fly. Because I sometimes make a thumbnail and I sit there and I look at it and go, I think it's good enough, but it's not, right?
Yeah.
Because I always have that in the back of my head. Is that going to catch attention? Is this actually going to do it? And then I swap it out because it just doesn't, or I
Right.
add something more to it that it's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Recently, like the Saints Row video I did, right? That video was doing it was doing usual numbers. I swapped out the thumbnail on that and it got picked up by the YouTube algorithm.
Mm. Did it actually?
Oh yeah, it's almost got 2,000 views on it now.
Are you serious? No
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
I'm gonna go over and take a look real quick. Wow, you aren't kidding.
Yep. And that's
That's
because
pretty good. Congratulations.
I swapped out the thumbnail on it and changed it up and it picked it up. I also changed the title of it.
Yeah.
Right? So it just I don't know if that did it or what, but all the views on that came from the YouTube algorithm.
Congratulations. I actually did watch that video. It was like, the thing is though, is that I gotta say, is that the thumbnail's great, but I also thought that the actual video itself was really well done. So I mean, I think that it's going to definitely be a combination. Like, I mean, because if your video is
Yeah,
shit, then it's shit. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I mean, it doesn't matter how beautiful your thumbnail is. If it's crap, you're going to see that when it's like when your numbers are down because people are quitting out of the first like
Yeah.
5 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the.
But I thought that was actually a pretty good video because I
was
watched it all the way through.
Yeah, that's the thing with that video. Like, it tells me people are watching majority of it all the way through,
Yeah.
and where some of my videos that I don't even get that. Like, when I did the one on the Robin Hood in Canada, no one cares because it's Canadian content, is what I got out of that. But people would click off of it within the first minute, right? I ended up taking the video down because
Excuse me.
it's either the video is not ready right now to do anything because the thing is still in production, or it's just it's not a topic for my channel or for like yourself to watch something like that.
Right. No, I get that. I
Right?
mean, like I said, I stick by what I said because I actually watched that video and I thought it was pretty good. So
Oh, thank you.
you did a good job with that one.
That was a tough video to do, by the way.
Okay.
Because I've experienced Saint Row, this particular game, through everyone else because I haven't been able to play it. But at the same time, when
Dude, you do not want to play that game.
That's exactly it.
You don't want to play that game.
That game looks absolutely dreadful to play. The amount of restarts, the amount of bugginess just to get into the game was abysmal. And I'm like, no, I don't even want to play that game. And up here in Canada, the game's $75. I had someone leave a comment in there saying it's like $35 in America. I was like, why is this so much more up here?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested. I've never even played any Saints Row games, but I'm definitely not playing that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've played Saint Row 4. I thought it was okay. Like I thought it was Saints Row that had the dildo sword weapon.
The dildo sword?
Yeah.
Okay, man.
I thought that's where their humor was at originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once again, Mr. Cindershadow, all about them veiny, flaccid cocks all the way.
Yeah, all the way. I told you, every 5 minutes. Okay, if you're this part into the podcast and you haven't cracked anything to drink for every time we talk about something to do with someone's cock,
veiny, flaccid cocks.
Yeah, then what are you doing? Why
take a shot every time we say veiny, flaccid cocks?
No, you know what? At this point, you need to catch up. You need to drink the entire bottle.
Catch up, people! What are you doing? Okay. So you know what came to my mind that I got to ask? I mean, unless there was something more that you wanted to say about...
No.
Okay. In case you know that you wanted to say more about veiny flaccid cocks. I
Right,
mean,
right. Every time
yeah,
you say those three words together, an angel gets its wings.
because I wouldn't want to interrupt your thought process about veiny flaccid cocks. I would never want to do that. That's something that is vitally important to the success of this podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, all right. So moving on from veiny flaccid cocks, I okay. I now we talked about it. We talked about it last night. We talked about it today. I want to talk about it more because I want to. I want to know. I want to hear it. I want to know. Are you going to play Zelda Wand of Gamelon or Link Faces of Evil?
After I went back from the videos you showed me from the Game Grumps, I remembered seeing stuff on this game, and I deleted it from memory.
So the
I
thing
looked,
that go ahead, sorry.
yeah, I looked at those. I got through about 5 minutes and went, I remember this travesty, and it was a hell of a game to try and control. So it all
So
depends. It all
yeah.
depends. If someone decides to sit there and find them for me and steps up and says, if you play this, we'll make it worth your while, then maybe. But other than that, I'm not playing that thing for any sort of enjoyment.
Well, so the systems and the games themselves are basically like priceless antiques.
Yeah.
So I don't know how easy it's going to be to actually acquire the physical
Oh, they're not
items.
ROMs or anything like that?
Okay, these are real games. Do you know any of the history about these games at all? Like, do you know what the deal is with them?
Like I said, when I resaw the video that you sent me,
Yeah.
I deleted it from memory. I went,
Okay.
I don't want to know about these
Let
games.
me
They don't exist to me.
let me give you some fascinating history. And this is what I was trying to tell you before. So, Zelda Wand of Gamelon and Link Faces of Evil. These are legitimate Legend of Zelda games. They are 100 they're not like fan games. They're not fake games. They're not fan designed content or cheap ripoffs or knockoffs. These are real Legend of Zelda games. They are properly licensed by Nintendo. The whole thing is that they weren't produced by Nintendo.
No, they were done on the CDI, which was a
Yeah.
Philips CDI.
Basically what happened was when CDI decided that they wanted to do this, they paid an absorbent amount of money to Nintendo to be allowed to license and produce these
Yeah,
games using the names Link and Zelda as
yeah,
part of the Legend of Zelda
they were part of
series.
the Super NES CD-ROM system.
Yeah.
If you've ever looked at the bottom of Super Nintendo, there's ports that you can open up, and that's what this links to.
So the thing is that it's important to say that despite all of the fact that these are legitimate Legend of Zelda games, they are properly licensed by Nintendo. However, they are not canon to
No,
the Legend of Zelda universe. And also, Nintendo prefers to pretend that they don't exist for good reason.
yeah, I could see why.
But that doesn't change the fact that they are, in fact, legitimate Legend of Zelda games. Okay? That's the whole thing. So that's why I was the other night, Mr. Cindershadow was doing a stream. I was hanging out with him. He was doing a stream playing
Think of the
a
past.
link. You were playing Link to the Past, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good game. Um, and I was telling him, first of all, I'm just going to go ahead and get it out of there. I'm going to get my hot take out there. I'm not a big fan of Legend of Zelda games. I've never been a fan. Now I've owned and played some Legend of Zelda games. I've played a tiny amount of Ocarina of Time. I've never beaten it. I do still own it, like the Nintendo 64 Ocarina of Time.
good game.
Um, Yeah, I mean, sure. I never beat it, and I was never all that interested in it. The only Legend of Zelda game I've ever played is and beaten, like I played it all the way through and beat it, is Phantom Hourglass, and I enjoyed that. I thought that was very
Yeah, it
fun.
was okay.
Yeah, I thought that was a very fun game.
Yeah.
However, in spite of that, I'm not a fan. I'm not. I've never been a Legend of Zelda fan. It's fine if you like it. It's fine. I get it. It's okay. Like
Well,
that's all
not all
right.
games will resonate with every person.
Yeah, it's just not my style. It's not my thing. So but the thing is that being the extremely troll like spicy man that I am, I was giving Cindershadow a big, I was giving him a
Oh
bad
yeah.
time about Legend of Zelda. I was giving him a real big bad time about it. And I was telling him that, Mr. Cindershadow, if you truly are a Legend of Zelda fan, you consider yourself to be a pretty big Legend of Zelda fan,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I've got
Right,
books.
right. Yeah. He's so into Legend of Zelda that he even has books, right?
Yeah.
But I, went ahead and thought that, it should be said that how can you consider yourself to be a real Legend of Zelda fan if you've never played Wand of Gamelon or Faces of Evil?
Well, here's the thing. Uh,
Uh huh.
I'm Canadian,
Uh huh.
and this type of game wouldn't have made it our side,
Okay.
right?
I'm
So,
sure. I'm sure we could find a way to, you know.
right? So it is kind of difficult, and that's probably why I really deleted it from memory. Because I remember seeing a little bit of this, and when I was going through some stuff online at one point, and I was like,
Yeah.
"No, this doesn't exist. I don't want this thing to exist. I really don't."
please, please, God, tell me it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Now, this originally was played on the Philips CDI, which I believe was the predecessor to the GameCube, or it came out with the GameCube originally. There
There,
was a version of the GameCube that came with a CD, an actual DVD player part of it.
Philips CDI and Nintendo don't have direct correlation to one another.
Well,
In fact,
there's
if I remember
there,
correctly, the Philips CDI was so unsuccessful that it made
yeah,
that entire division of Philips go out of business.
you probably.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I can't remember exactly, but it's literally considered to be one of the
Failed.
biggest all time hardware failures, like business failures of
Yeah,
all time. It was something like they invested millions and lost like billions,
yeah.
if I remember correctly. It's something along those lines. So I don't think that I think what the whole thing between Philips CDI's division and Nintendo in general was they wanted to sell their system not only as something that would be used in a business division, but also they were trying to target homes, like, just casual life, right? They wanted this to be, oh, well, you can buy a Philips CDI for your board meetings at work, and then you can pack it up and take it home, and little Billy will sit right in front of it, and he's gonna play Link Faces of Evil on it. Like that was their whole shtick. That's what they were trying to do. They wanted to sell it to not only the man in the suit, but the man sitting down with little Billy on the carpet. That was their intention. And so they were like, okay, well, if we can make our own games for it, sure. But if we really, really want to hit a home run with this system, let's see if we can purchase a license to a popular franchise that will allow us to produce our own version of their games on our CDI exclusively. So that's when they approached Nintendo and they're like, hey, we're going to pay you this insane amount of money just so that we can be allowed to use the names and likeness of your characters for our CDI games. And Nintendo was like, sure, free money. Sounds great. And as far as I'm aware, that's as far as the connection between the two. Like, they weren't working for Nintendo. I'm pretty sure they weren't designing hardware for Nintendo. It was literally just that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to do their own system, and they figured we can sell this to businessmen, but we can also sell it to, your average video gamer while we're doing that on the side. That's what I think what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to branch out a little bit, but that was like when Sega was really pushing their console at the same time, and then
Right.
Sega just fell out of the market for their console, and picked up and just that's where they picked up the pieces and just made software.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I believe smart on them, because now you have your big three consoles, which is the PlayStation, the Xbox, and whatever Nintendo puts out that has to be revolutionarily different from one console to the next.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm not a console kiddie, so I mean, are you a current like console kiddie, Cinder?
What do you mean?
Do you buy like current consoles? Like, do you have like a Nintendo Switch? Do you have like the
No,
Xbox?
I do
Whatever.
not have an Xbox Bone or an Xbone. I do not have a PlayStation 5, and I do not have a Nintendo Switch.
Okay, so you're not a console kiddie, basically. Like, is it?
Well, up until the PlayStation 5 came out, when I said, forget it, I'm done doing this, I
Right.
own them.
Right. Well, I mean,
I have a PS4,
right.
which we actually more use as a DVD player now.
Sure. Sure.
Because the PS3 and the PS4, a lot of people don't know, was the best 3D player on the market.
Well, I mean, PlayStation 3 paved the way for Blu-ray to be successful.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
that was their whole thing.
Yeah. And now the PlayStation 3 and the PS4, they became 3D players at the same time. When we first got to the place that we're in now, we ended up buying a 3D TV. Got a hell of a deal on that.
Right.
It's a 4K 3D TV we bought now 9 years ago.
So I guess the idea here is that you're not going out of your way to get them, but if you happen to be like, they're like, hey, like, we'll give this to you at a really cheap price and or free, then you're going to go for it.
Yeah, no, like, I would love to own a Switch right now, mostly for Metroid and for Mario. For a lot of the games that are on the Switch are still very appealing to me, but it's not in the budget anymore. It's not in the sense that I'm going to go out there out of my way to get it.
Right.
I've also got my PC, which seems to run everything under the sun.
See, that is exactly why I don't like consoles anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, why bother?
Well,
Like,
and that was the one reason why I never went to Xbox, period.
right.
Was anything that Microsoft puts out on the Xbox will end up eventually on a PC.
Yeah. And it'll probably be a better experience on the PC anyways, because your hardware can definitely handle it, or you can upgrade your hardware to handle it. Whereas the Xbox has the specific hardware it's designed with. It's not like you can modify it.
Yeah.
Like, and my thing too is that it's when it comes to like, oh, well, what about like Sony and Nintendo? And it's like, well, I mean, the way that I see it is that, if they don't want to share it onto the computer, then it's not worth my time. That's how I see it. Like, I'm not like, your job is to entertain me enough that I'm willing to pay you for what your entertainment is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to conform to your system. I'm not going to go out and pay multiple hundreds of dollars for a computer that only plays one specific type of software and then further pay even more money after that to only buy software from you. This is 2022. I have a computer that can play an insane amount of software of all kinds from an insane amount of developers. Why would I want to dedicate myself to only one or two developers?
And that's the thing. Like, even at one point with the PlayStation, I thought that Final Fantasy VII would stay on the PlayStation. It has now come to Steam, and I'm like, I'm sitting there looking at it going, why? That's the one reason you could have kept the PlayStation proprietary, but instead you need to make those sales now because the game didn't sell enough on the PlayStation to even make it worthwhile, because you have it as too much of a price point now.
Yeah. Well, and also the thing is too to keep in mind when it comes to that is it's Square Enix, which is a multi-platformer developer.
Yeah.
So like they'll develop things for Windows, they'll develop things for Sony, they'll develop things for Nintendo, and and they're used to having a wider audience because they're willing to spread themselves across all those platforms.
Um.
So if they're
Oh,
exclusive to only Sony,
oh,
they're going to see less revenue in general. So obviously they're going to try to pull in more money with what is definitely going to sell.
sorry, I'm just remembering some stuff with Square Enix. Yeah, it was just that they had spun off part of their stuff to Embracer. I thought there was a bid for Square Enix to be sold entirely.
Hmm. Well, I mean, because they like Square Enix knows what it's like to be a multi-platform developer.
Yeah,
So like if they're like they understand that being exclusive, like in the short term, they'll be like, okay, well, will be a short term exclusive, which will make us a lot of money for the short term. But in the long run, it's going to make us more money over multiple years if we're multi platform,
yeah,
and they understand that
exactly.
very well.
Yeah.
And it's sad because I feel like that's something that we'll never see with Nintendo. You know, like
No,
there are some like well, I mean, you'll never see a Mario game on Steam.
no.
Yeah,
You'll see Sonic.
sure, because that's a multi-platform. That's Sega.
Exactly.
That's multi-platform.
Yeah.
Or like for example, a game that I'm very excited for it to show up on Steam is I am still holding my breath because I know it'll come out. I'm holding my breath for Triangle Strategy, which is made by a multi-platform developer.
Yeah.
And they have released their other games onto Steam.
Oh,
But
okay.
what they did was they are developers that sell themselves exclusively for a short period of time on Nintendo. So like for a very specific amount of time, they're like, we will be exclusive only to Nintendo. But once that time limit is up, we will sell our games to all platforms.
Oh, this looks like
Are you looking up Triangle Strategy?
yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics.
So yeah. So
I
first
can
of
see
all,
why you're hyped
oh
about.
yeah, I'm holding my goddamn loins for that game. Are you kidding me?
Hell yeah. That
Like
looks like
take me now, Triangle Strategy San. Triangle Strategy Senpai,
oh
put it
yeah,
in me.
this is
Uh,
100% Final Fantasy Tactics.
okay,
Best games made
so
to
first
date.
of all, just to give you some context, these are the same developers that did Octopath Traveler.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing is that they have developers that worked on Final Fantasy Tactics games in the past.
Yeah.
So that's why they are able to do what they're doing in the way that they're doing it. The thing is that I'm excited about is this game, Triangle Strategy. I could talk about this game for so long because I'm so unbelievably hyped to get my hands on this game and play it. Like you have no idea. The story of the game has multiple endings,
Oh yeah.
and the idea is that there are times where you come to multiple, like you come to a choice where there are multiple decisions that can be made. And the entire root of the story, as well as the character's development and the gameplay of the actual game, change based on your personal moral decisions
Oh
within the
wow.
game. Yeah. So I'm mega, mega hyped about it. And it sucks because one of the things is that I feel like the game has not gotten very much attention when it deserves way more attention. And one of the reasons why it has been out of the eyesight of a lot of gamers is it was unfortunately released a month before Elden Ring came out.
Oh yeah, that would do it.
Yeah. So because of that, nobody gives a shit about the game, which is really, in my opinion, very unfortunate. But like I said, once they finally release it on Steam,
It'll
um,
probably creep up.
yeah,
Yeah, it's got some
I'm
reviews
going to
too.
be playing the hell out of it. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it looks good. Just looking at it, it looks like a tactics sort
Yeah,
of style for the
yeah.
combat style, but the game will be completely different from it.
I just liked what they explained. Like all the previews that I've seen, all the trailers, it just looks like what Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced what Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced 2 wanted to be.
Yeah.
Which is like, I love Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced 2, but it suffered from a lot of really unusual production problems while it was being made. And when you play the game, you can actually see where it suffers. And when I see Triangle Strategy, it feels like everything that Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced 2 aimed to be but couldn't accomplish. So I'm very excited for that game, like unbelievably excited. But anyways, I think also we got distracted from the point. Wand of Gamelon and Faces of Evil.
It would take a lot. I did find a emulator.
That's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering.
So that's about the only way you could play something like this is via emulator. So I'll have to do some digging into it. Like I found links to an emulator. I don't know how well it works. That's the problem. There's only 2 emulators out there for the CDI, so that doesn't bode very well overall, because they've only been downloaded 1,000 times in the history of it.
Okay.
So if it works or runs, that's the other thing of it.
I would be so unbelievably happy to watch you play Faces of Evil or Wand of Gamelon. That would literally make my day.
We'll see. We'll see what happens here. I'm not promising anything here. There's no way I'm promising anything here.
You should definitely watch those playlists that I sent you. Those are full playthroughs of each of the games.
I saw.
Yeah.
I was
They're
watching
fantastic.
through the first episodes, and I was like, "Oh God, this is just no."
Here's another one that I bet you've never heard of that was also a CDI game.
Oh boy.
If I remember correctly, it's called Zelda's Adventure. I gotta look this up real quick. Give me a second.
We can understand why CDI did not do very well.
Oh yeah, their games are awful.
Yeah. They're supposed to bring forward this 3D sort of dimensional thing, but then the N64 just kind of crushed that idea.
Yeah, so it's called Zelda's Adventure.
Yeah. I have a wiki up on it. Yeah.
It's even worse than Gamelon and
well, it kind of, the one screenshot that they have there makes it look a lot more like Ocarina of Time. So from me,
you're giving it way more credit than it deserves.
That's probably but they're probably the predecessor to Ocarina of Time.
I don't think so. I think
Zelda's Adventure there has the same sort of top-down side sort of view that it had.
So you're okay. No, so Zelda's Adventure, if I remember correctly, you are looking from above.
Yeah,
you don't ever see from like. You can't move the camera around. You were statically looking down at what's going on in Zelda's Adventure.
Like, it looks like clay animation in some shots.
Hold on. So it's I've seen gameplay of this game before.
Yeah.
So it's first of all, it's ugly as it's so ugly. It's so unbelievably ugly.
Like the screenshots I'm looking at look like a map that someone put out there. Yeah.
The thing is it's live acted. So all the cutscenes are live acted. It's not claymation. What you're seeing is live action with really awful costume and makeup. No, they're people. They're real people.
Oh boy.
It's live acted by people, and they're dressed up in just like dollar store. They're dressed up in dollar store costumes, dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
This thing looks like it looks like old school Final Fantasy VII before it was rendered.
I don't know what you're looking at. It's like a goddamn pixelated mess, dude.
This makes Legacy of Kain look amazing.
I like Legacy of Kain. Don't say bad things
Legacy
about
of Kain was
Legacy
an
of Kain.
amazing game.
Legacy.
Legacy of Kain, it was an amazing game, but this makes it look even more amazing.
Don't talk shit about Soul
I'm
Reaver
not
Legacy of Kain. I
Soul Reaver.
love
What are you
that game.
talking about? I'm talking about the original.
Wasn't Soul Reaver called Legacy of Kain?
Yes, but that's not the original game.
The one that I played was on the first on PlayStation 1. It was I thought it was called Soul Reaver Legacy of Kain.
Soul Reaver was the follow-up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I see. Legacy of Kain.
Yeah.
Soul Reaver. Okay.
That's the follow-up to the Silicon Knights Legacy of Kain.
Okay. I was gonna say, don't talk shit about Soul Reaver. I love that game. I don't know what the original Legacy of Kain is.
Blood Omen.
Okay, I'm looking.
Blood Omen Legacy of Kain was the original game, and that was that same sort of top-down view, right?
Uh-huh.
But it was done with actual graphics and not people. And some of the screenshots that you're showing me with the Zelda adventure look very similar to that for the time. But the Legacy of Kain, way better.
I was about to say, from what I looked up some pictures here of some gameplay. Yeah. This game looks better than Zelda's Adventure. Yeah, this looks much nicer than Zelda's Adventure. Okay, some of the screenshots are not so complimentary. But...
Yeah, like you can see some of them and you're like, ugh. Like, you know it's a PS1 game when.
Yeah. Did you ever play Soul Reaver? Did you play
No, I never actually did. I never did.
I have so many good memories of playing that game.
I have very good memories of playing Blood Omen. Right? They brought in like a full moon mechanic into the game where during a full moon, and the full moon only happened like every, 20 hours?
That's cool. Like it's like a rare mechanic or something like that? That's pretty advanced.
It would open up certain dungeons in the game, so you could only get to them during a full moon.
Right.
And it was a decently long game. I don't think it was 20 hours. It couldn't have been 20 hours because the game wasn't that potentially long. Although I guess it was kind of an RPG where you do sit there and you play it in multiple sessions.
Mm-hmm.
The game. The end of the game was either you went good or bad.
Right.
So you either saved everything or you destroyed everything, and you literally got to choose right at the end.
I think that Soul Reaver did that as well.
Yeah.
I vaguely recall that was a thing. Like you could choose to kill people or you could choose to like let them live.
Yeah. But like the cutscenes there were worse than Reboot.
People keep saying, like, you're talking about the animated series.
Yes, the animated Reboot.
Okay. So people have a lot of like nostalgia and love for Reboot. I assume that's something that you enjoyed as well, right?
Oh yeah. I have it all.
Okay. I watched it when I was a kid and I was not a fan. I didn't think it was very good.
The first 2 seasons were really a lead up. The third season is where it got really good. Right. And then it took them forever to do a 4th season. And the 4th season was 2 movies. 2 movies?
So, okay. 2. So, like, and I was a small kid. Okay. I was a small kid when I watched it and I don't remember it being very good. What is Reboot about? What is Reboot? What is it about? Because it's the green people, right? It's the green people.
Green, blue, and viruses. It's all about sprites living in your computer system.
Okay.
Right? And it was at the time where the internet became a thing. Right. So it was all these computer systems are hooking up to the internet, and how a virus was the biggest threat to the internet at the time, because once one computer is infected, many computers could get infected with through the way they reach the net.
Right.
So that's what it was, and what it was is they had this computer system that had a couple dormant viruses on them, right?
Okay.
One was hexadecimal, which was more like a just a chaos virus that would do random things to your system all of a sudden, type of thing. And
Okay.
then there was Megabyte, which was an actual virus that wanted power, but he was happy and content to stay in the system of mainframe.
Okay.
Right?
It's like I could be the most dangerous evil thing in existence, but I kind of just like chilling
but he
here.
was kind of quarantined to his own section of the system. So
Okay.
and then the antivirus, which was Bob the Guardian,
Okay.
right, kept them contained. That was his whole job, was to keep the viruses contained, and so they couldn't get off the computer and infect the rest of the internet.
Got it.
Right, and then you have Dot, which was the DOS of the system. She was the command center. She was the person that actually told everything else in the computer to do the things. And then you had Enzo and Frisket, which were like the minier versions of that. But
Okay.
like Enzo grew up at one point and became his own guardian, and Frisket was his loyal companion dog.
Ah, okay.
Right, and then you had Fong, which was the motherboard CPU of the whole mainframe system.
Right.
Right,
Yeah,
and he was
see, I definitely don't remember any of this like at all.
yeah
So was it kind of like an adventure story where like they would have like the daily baddie and they would go out and
yeah
like fight the
yeah
bad
like
guy?
every episode for the longest time, every episode was its own story by
Mhm.
itself. You would always have things called the game, where the user would use the system and play a game. And then if the user won the game, it actually destroyed parts of the hard drive space where they all lived on of mainframe.
Oh,
Right, and
weird.
if there was a sprite in there, they would actually turn into a null. They would turn into just little bits of data if the
Huh.
user won. So that was their whole thing, was they couldn't let the user win these games.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So it's like people were the bad guys.
Sort of. Just to contextualize this, when it comes down to your computer system, when every time you install something new onto your system, it takes up that little bit of a resource,
Sure.
and then you're playing it. That was the whole reasoning for it. Was that section was just often its own little land that this game comes down, and then suddenly that section is forever changed, and it becomes the game that it was, and then once the game was over, or they deleted the game in that sense, it would be a pile of stuff that you couldn't really do properly anymore in your system, where
Hmm.
a decompression of the system would ultimately fix it. But who decompresses their hard drives nowadays?
It's true. It's
Right,
true.
so
I don't even do that shit.
Reboot also was one of the greatest things come out of Canada when it comes to animation.
I know you've told me that multiple
Yeah,
times before. I know that you love Reboot. I've heard you talk about it a few
yeah.
times before. I know you're a big fan.
It was one of the better shows that I grew up with as a kid. Um, However, the new version of Reboot, the
There's a new
Guardian's Code,
version?
is oh yeah, it's called the Guardian's Code. It's an absolute travesty to what it once was. Because now the Guardians are real people going into the system, and it completely violates the entire thing that they set up for the game.
Oh my god, is it live action?
It's half live action, half sprites, but they're people that go into the game that go to high school. It's a high school drama. I'm like, what? I don't want my sprites in high school. I just want mainframe back. And then
You know,
you have a hacker man that's invoking all these viruses into the system. It's like, no, 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 no.
you know, I this brings up something that I would love to talk with you a little bit about. Live action reboots. Let's talk about live action reboots.
Oh boy.
I didn't even know that Reboot had a live action reboot.
Yeah, it's called the Guardian's Code.
Wow. It's just I don't like
But
I
it's not even a reboot, it's a continuation of the story. What it is,
mm,
these kids found the computer that mainframe was installed on, and they
right.
booted it up.
Because the whole story takes place on a single computer, right?
Yeah, and the computer just happens to be in the school they were going to high school in.
Interesting. Oh
Not some
God, they're
secret
high
school.
schoolers?
Yeah, man.
No, no, man, no.
It's like Degrassi High meets Reboot. My God, it's bad.
God, it's so ridiculous when you see like because it's a popular thing. I know that is it's so ridiculous to me these like shows because like Disney does this all the time, all the time. This is like Disney's bread and butter for God's sake. Is
Yeah,
they do shows about high school, but they're always made for like people in elementary school. I don't understand. I
exactly.
don't understand it.
The thing with Reboot was it actually drew in like teenagers and close to
Oh,
pre-adult
uh huh.
also. So there was a lot that was behind Reboot, and at the time the story was great. Like it was stupid. It was like this is going back to what we were talking about before. Just make stupid things,
Mm-hmm.
and you can sell it for 99.99.
It's
If anyone gets
quite a
that
specific
joke,
price tag you have there.
if anybody gets that joke, please let us know down below.
I buy that for $1. Um,
But that was another line that was in there.
uh, references aside, yeah, I'm so tired, and I mean, I don't know what has to happen to make it stop at this point.
What has to happen
Is
is you need fresh ideas and fresh stories. You need these,
I don't think that's the case.
but
I don't.
all these live action reboots is they're taking the name of what it was
Yeah.
and remaking it, right?
Well, they're
Now,
making like what happens a lot with these though is that they're literally trying to like sell you a different TV show, but they
yeah,
think that they can grease the cogs by using the same title as something that was successful.
yeah, like that's Cowboy Bebop, for example.
Name off your favorite franchise that has been turned into a Netflix live action, and that is what it is.
That's exactly it, right? There,
Yeah.
what it is they there's recognition with the names, and name recognition and brand recognition is a big thing when it comes to marketing and selling things to a open and free market.
Mm-hmm.
And when you bring in a name recognition, a lot of the fans will recognize it. However, they run the risk of alienating the original fans because
Right.
they don't make it up to the standards that the fans are going to want it to be seen at. Now there are things, there are licenses, there are going to be changes in each of these things, but it doesn't mean the changes need to be a mix of two different IPs and then you completely change the story,
Yeah.
right? You don't need to swap everyone else out for someone else. People liked the stuff as it once was. They're going to remember it as it once was. And when these continuation of making these live action reboots, like we've seen time and time again with Netflix, they make it and they change key elements of the show, the key things that the people remembered it for,
Yeah.
and then don't build on that. They don't build on the original story. They just say that doesn't exist anymore in our canonical world, so we're just going to make it in the way we want to make it. Now, there is something said to making things your own, and when I'm making when I make a video that's based off someone else's video, I make it my own. I do what I can to make it my own, right?
Sure.
And
Sure.
in a lot of cases, I will pay homage to the original creator of it. If I'm watching a trailer in particular, right,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing a reaction to a trailer, or if I'm making comments recently on the trending controversy with YouTube, um, I made my own video. I didn't go out of my way to show clips from everyone else. Now, the Saint Row one, I did take a few of those clips, but that was within the context of it all, and just shouldn't because I was living through everyone else with that game. That game is a travesty. Sorry,
I just
I'm
love how
sorry I
like
brought it up again.
I just love the fact that you're like you had to stop in the middle of your thought and you're like, God, that game was bad.
Like that, the Cowboy Bebop reboot. What really drove it home? Why I didn't get through the entire thing? I got to episode 6
Why would you torture yourself that way?
because I wanted to see everything. I wanted to get to the point where I saw Ed, and then I saw the clips of Ed, and I was like, oh.
Oh God, why?
Ed doesn't work in live action, and that's part of the things that made Cowboy Bebop in itself revolutionary and so good, was because you can express that in an anime. But
right.
there was things missing in that show, such as the space chases, the just rundown in actual combat. The guy that played Spike, he did combat, but it was all about using his legs, and it was choreographed. It wasn't like with the anime where they can.
Are you trying to tell me that you didn't like the fact that Spike was a 50-year-old man? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Is that what you're mad about?
I didn't care he was a 50-year-old man. It was the fact that his choreographed fighting was too choreographed.
It has nothing to do with the fact that, Spike is like a 20-year-old dude who actually knows what the hell he's doing and actually can, fight like a person, like the character that he's supposed to be.
Yes, Spike, the character. I didn't care that it was a 50-year-old man playing Spike Spiegel. I did not care one bit. If you take, I'm going to give an example here. If you take the kids from the Power Rangers, every single one of those kids was not a teenager. They were all adults. One of them became an MMA fighter.
Who's your favorite Power Ranger?
The Green. Come on, the MMA fighter.
I always liked Green Ranger and Pink Ranger.
Oh yeah, Pink. Oh, Pink.
Oh, Pink. Oh, Pink Ranger. I'll see you tonight in my dream. I used to always have. Did you ever see the original Power Rangers movie where they fought like the purple goo guys? Did you ever see that?
I'm pretty sure.
I always have a very vivid memory of the Blue Ranger fighting the goo guys, and like because they would explode of goo. When they died, they would explode.
Yeah, with Billy.
And they would shoot purple goo everywhere. And I always remember like a scene where like he gets into a fight and he beats them. And he's like, "Huh, you snooze, you lose," and then he like walks off. I don't know why. I have such a vivid memory of that one scene.
Oh my God.
I don't know why. But
when the Power Rangers were big, it was the same time that the Turtles did their movie. And I think that really, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was one of the best puppeteering that they've done. Those were actual guys in costumes.
I was about to say, I was like, I don't know about puppets, but I do know that
they were still a puppet because the guys in costumes still had the animatronic stuff for their eyes and their mouth and stuff like that, right?
Oh God, they were wearing Springlock suits. It's Freddy Fazbear's all over again. Oh my God.
Turtles revolutionized the animatronics nowadays.
Oh man. Yeah, so the whole thing with Cowboy Bebop, I don't know. I'm glad that died the way that it did, honestly.
Oh my God, yeah. The newest one, like I put out the video here today on the Resident Evil stuff, like
well, now they're doing what's it called? It's a series that I used to watch when I was a young teenager. It's Yu Yu Hakusho.
They're also doing Alchemist, I've heard.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that, but I think they're doing Yu Yu Hakusho, and
they're doing another Death Note.
Of course. Why? That did so terribly. That was like the harbinger of death.
Well, like I said with the Resident Evil stuff, Resident Evil never goes away. They will do another version of it.
Oh my God, I saw the Netflix live action Death Note. And it was so funny because
I went, yeah, whatever.
So
I
here's
never saw Death Note, so it was like, eh.
So Okay, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. All I was gonna say is, so my father, like, my father's a pretty cool dude. Okay, so um, I would have never been into anime if it wasn't for my father, because he used to be into very good old school animation. He's always been a very big fan of classic, animation. He loves the history of it. He loves the process of it. He used to actually like watch like Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies with me. We were both big fans of like the original Batman animated series. Like we like he does enjoy animation. So as I got older, I started getting into anime. And even though it wasn't something that he was particularly a fan of, as a person who genuinely enjoys animation and the process of, animation and understanding it, he was like, okay, I can get on the idea of like my son enjoying anime. I'm not going to be upset at him because I enjoy animation in my own way. So he was never, had any issues with me enjoying anime as I was growing up. And he knew that when I was in high school, I used to talk to him about Death Note. That was how I was introduced to Death Note. Was
Okay.
I watched it in high school, and I was all over it. I would talk about it all the time. I would tell him how great it is. I would try to get him to watch it, but he was never interested. He's like, "No, that's not really my thing. Like, I'm glad that you enjoy it, and that's fine. But I'm not going to watch Death Note with you, son." And I was like, "Okay, it's all right. Whatever." So time passed, and eventually one day, like, this is obviously when the Death Note Netflix live action movie comes out, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, so I know that in high school you were into this series called Death Note." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's amazing." And he's like, "Did you know that Netflix released a live action like thing for Death Note?" And I was like, "No, I had no idea." And he's like, "Yeah, you know what? Actually, why don't you come over? We'll watch it together." And I'm like, "Oh, I actually get the chance to bond with my father over anime. And sure, it's live action.
Netflix
Sure,
ruined your bonding.
this I was like, okay, well, sure, this is live action. It's not the same thing, but if he likes it and it's good, I might be able to get him into anime. Like, this might be like the opportunity I've been looking for.
Stone.
Yeah, this could be great.
Damn you, Netflix! Damn you! All the hell.
We watch the live action Death Note, and my dad, every once in a while, he turns and looks at me, and I'm just like, "Dad, hear me out." It's not what it looks like.
I don't have control over this.
I swear to God, I know what you're thinking. This isn't what it looks like. On behalf of all the anime fans out there, including myself, I hugely apologize for this awful travesty that Netflix has wreaked upon us.
Netflix owes you one father.
It's like they give me like a coupon with like a goddamn QR code. Please redeem for one new dad.
It's like your free Morty. You only get one, but you get another one down the line, right?
Yeah. So the thing is, though, is like while it's going on and my dad like turns and looks at me, I then like each time like I stop and I'm like, okay, let me explain what's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
And so eventually it got to a point where I basically said, "Dad, you have to watch this series. Like, I'm sorry. I know what Netflix did to you. I know it's traumatic. Please show me on the anatomically correct doll where Netflix touched you." Like, did they touch you in the no-no area? We need to fix this.
No, they just gave him the flaccid cock.
The flaccid veiny cock. They did.
Yeah.
They did indeed. Damn you, J.R.R. Martin. Okay, so basically, I basically talked my dad into watching. I talked him into watching Death Note with me, like the actual series. Like, he was so. It was sort of like the whole thing was that he was like, okay, that Netflix series was so unbelievably terrible that he literally said to me, he's like, that was so unbelievably bad that I literally couldn't imagine that you would ever recommend me something that awful. So they must be doing something wrong. And you must be doing something right, because otherwise I can't accept you as my son.
Well, you got to wonder what's going on here, because you see this with Wizards of the Coast, with Magic the Gathering. You see this with Dungeons and Dragons. You're seeing this with a lot of the fandom of multiple genres. And you're seeing this a lot with Netflix. You got to wonder if the writers are being underpaid, overworked, and they're just putting it on paper to crap out another spectacular series or movie for us.
Well, okay. So I think that it's different in different industries. So I think that like if you're bringing up like Wizards of the Coast and like, Dungeons and Dragons, I think that that situation is specifically involving with we don't need to spend money where it's not making us money. So like if you're targeting like, companies that are involved in multi-million dollar games like Magic or Dungeons and Dragons, you're running into a situation where the writing or the quality doesn't make you more money. You're just
No.
spending money and not. It's sort of like, okay, it's sort of like if I were selling a game, okay, and if I sell a game, okay, and I make like $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Then cool, my game made me $1 million. Then I move into the next quarter and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can make more money. Let's see. What are my options? Well, I'm going to sell my game, but this time I'm going to spend $500,000 to make a better story with more lore and
Yeah.
more depth and interesting
Yeah,
characters.
and then you
Then I
end up
sell
selling
that.
less.
Then I sell that game, and it makes $1 million.
Yeah.
The difference between quarter one and quarter two is that in quarter one, I sold the game with no story and no lore, and I made $1 million. And then in quarter two, I spent $500,000, but only made $1 million.
Yeah.
The point is that if they are spending their money to like buy more writers and make it a higher quality game, but they're still making the same amount as what they did before, then all they're doing is losing money by
That's
trying to add
exactly it.
more quality. So that's how that industry works. Now, when it comes to like movie industries and these show industries, it's not the same thing. It's because they're actually losing money. Like they're
Oh yeah.
basically well
Well,
it,
no, they're not losing money in a lot of cases to make these games or these movies in particular, because when they film on set, there's usually a huge kickback from governments in and around that, where they're actually filming, right?
well Netflix is actually in trouble right now. Like they're
Oh
actually
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
financial
Netflix is
trouble right
now
now.
in trouble because they've leaned too much onto these grants,
Yeah.
right? They're not the end all be all. They can only take so much public money that's out there to make these things. They need actual, real people watching these things, and not to have a grant propping it up.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on when it comes to why Netflix is failing right now. Like, do you know about the involvement of like um it's kind of hard to go into descriptions, and I don't want this to turn
Yeah,
into like a whole
no,
conspiracy
no.
theory because it's
Well,
very involved and it's really weird. Do you know
let
about the involvement of like BlackRock? Do you know about that? That
yeah, BlackRock
BlackRock's
is an
involved?
investor and stuff like that. I know
Yeah.
some of it. Unfortunately, being Canadian, we get a little bit cut off up here,
Okay.
right?
Well,
Because we don't get all the same streaming as you guys get down there. If I want to stream to like Hulu properly, I have to use a VPN.
right. So
Right.
Netflix has reached a like a bunch of different issues because they have been making money from their investors, but they're losing money from their actual like
Yeah.
audience base. And it's actually officially become an issue where the money that's been granted to them by most of their investors is much lower than the amount of money that they would be making from who would actually be spending to watch or own an account by Netflix. So it's gotten to the point of where they have followed their investors so deeply that it's basically dug a grave for them because their audiences
Yeah.
aren't interested in what they're creating,
Oh
but their
no,
investors are.
the
And the
audience
problem is
are.
that the amount of money that their investors are involved in is nothing compared to the amount of money that they should be making from their actual audience.
Yeah.
And because of that, they've decided that they can't keep following the rules that were set by their investors. So they
Yeah.
started to break the rules of the investors to try and regain an audience. And they started gaining some success in the process. However, because of that, their investors are also fighting back. And then in the process, they had to, try to make it up and then lose more of their audience. So now they're basically in a situation where their investors are running away and also their audience is running away
Yeah.
and they can't support themselves.
No,
That's what's happening to Netflix.
it's in serious trouble. There's a few like that, but yeah.
It's I can send you some really
Yeah, for
interesting
sure. For sure.
material about it
Oh,
if you're
can do it.
curious. But the thing is that it's different than like the industry of like those game industries that you mentioned, and then the movie and television industries. They're very different. It's the gaming industries are providing content that is not as interesting, but it's
No.
still as successful because people just want to play the game.
Well, I think it was
And
over last year, gaming overtook movie revenue. But of course, the movie theaters were closed,
right. Well, I
right,
mean,
in a lot of cases. So,
yeah, I'm just trying to say that like trying to put, because you brought up Wizards of the Coast, trying to
yeah.
put Wizards of the Coast and Netflix into the same comparison is a little
Well,
wonky. It's
it's
wonky.
just the same sort of comparison on how they're paying the people to write these things to create the content in particular. Just that side of things, because in a lot of cases, people are getting underpaid and overworked.
Well, I mean, I still don't think it's the same thing because
It's not quite the same thing, but when it comes down to writing a card to writing a script, it's the same sort of idea, right? Because the same people that are writing the cards they're writing several cards on what they do to a person writing a script in that sense. It's the same
hmm,
sort of idea mashing together where you're in a room with a few people and you're all like trying to write this out.
yeah, but you don't need somebody who can write a script to be able to write game mechanics for a
No,
card.
no, game mechanics usually just fill in on themselves in a lot of cases, but there's certain things trying to make them work, trying to mash, and then they've like with the Magic the Gathering side of things, they're starting to write things and then they're not even close to what they are on the cards anymore,
Hmm.
right?
I
And
mean,
but the Wizards of the Coast just prints money. That's all they do. So it's not really the same, but it's just the whole industry as a whole. They're at a reckoning in that industry because everyone's getting underpaid for what they're doing.
hmm. It's just that the amount of success that a company like Netflix would have is determined by factors that are completely different than the amount of success that a company like Wizards would have to have.
Yeah, well, the successes that where Netflix is where they are acquiring a show that was independently made, and then they're picking it up and putting it on their and then putting their label on it saying they made it, right? That's where they were finding a lot of success, but then that sort of market kind of dried up a little bit for them, and
Hmm.
that's where the investors were trying to get them to get the writers to get these things made under the Netflix label, and that's where they're so out of the water they can't tread anymore.
Hmm. I mean, I can kind of see the point. I just think that the industries are so vastly different from one
Yeah,
another
it
that
is two different
it's
industries,
very
but at the
difficult to
same
make a
time,
comparison between the two of them.
the game industry and the Hollywood industry aren't too far separated because they're kind of following the same models in particular,
Well, they're
but it is
targeting
different.
different kinds of audiences though.
um I don't see it that way. because
I think so.
most people that are playing the games are the people that want to see and watch the Marvel movies, or
I would argue that the people that are attracted to things like Marvel movies are much vaster than the people who are
yeah,
attracted to, games. Like, and I mean, you could even say that the audience that are interested in the specific franchise of Marvel is much, much larger than any specific franchise within gaming.
yeah,
I mean, I bet there's a couple of, well, I guess that's not true because I can actually immediately think of a franchise that is literally the single largest franchise in all of existence and has even I think it's like Marvel's third and Pokemon is like second or something like that.
yeah, something like that.
So I mean, I guess, but it's
It's
whatever.
this is what happens when everything goes mainstream. It gets ruined.
Yeah, Cinder and me, part of the hipster army. Let's go.
Right, right.
My
Uh,
hipster brother.
well, what do you think of that? Do you think we end it there with the hipster reference?
Sure, man. I was just about to
Yeah,
say we should probably wrap this one up. It's getting a
probably.
bit late.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, man. This was a really good time. I'm really
It was.
glad
It was.
that you wanted to do this with me.
Hey, no worries. Any time that I can sit there and be your lettuce instead of your tomato for your burger instead of your lettuce, it would be great.
All right. Well, I just want to let people know, like, just to let you guys give you guys a heads up. This was Cinder's idea. Cinder came to me and he wanted to do this. This was his idea. So,
Yes, yes.
and I
Because
was like,
that's exactly what I wanted to do, was talk about large flaccid clocks for the last 2 hours here.
large flaccid clocks. For some reason, that's even better. just like a gigantic, fleshy, floppy clock. Like, it's just like you hang it on your wall and it like splats.
There's your
And it's like
background. A grandfather clock bending over every 10 seconds.
it's just like a giant, like, penis-shaped grandfather clock. Oh god. Oh god. All right. Giant floppy flaccid clocks apparently. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. Once again, thank you so much, Cindershadow, for suggesting the idea of doing this podcast together with me. I appreciate it.
No worries.
Yeah.
Like I said, anytime.
If you haven't already, if for whatever weird ass reason you're not subscribed to Mr. Cindershadow, go ahead and give him a subscribe. I'll probably be putting his link down below because I usually do that when he's on the podcast. And
just remember, my live streams, I do try and keep them normal.
Yeah, he doesn't like to have he may, when he comes over to the Imaginary Boys, he loves his hermaphroditic porn and flappy flaccid cocks. But when he's over on his channel, he's a goody two shoes with angel wings and a halo. So keep that in mind. But yeah, go and check out Cindershadow. If you're not already subscribed to me, please do so. I really appreciate it. Like, comment, all that good stuff. Check for all the wonderful links in the description down below, such as Teespring, PayPal, Patreon, all that good stuff.
Everything you can do to help this man make his channel blow up, do it.
I'm so desperate for attention, guys. Please help me. So yeah.
Well, you can only stroke it so far, so.
Flappy flaccid cock is not going to be so flappy and flaccid no more, is it? Anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. And other than that, we have been the Imaginary Boys. Good night, everybody.
Bye.